Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome back to the American GTE series brought to you by RacingSimRigs. And we've had a couple of weeks off for one reason or another. And we are back today at the Nurburgring GP circuit. And this is just a fantastic track. It's just so much history. Obviously, we're not going to put these guys through the torturous strains of the Nordschleife tonight. That would just be a little bit too unfair, I think. So we are racing on the GP layout. With the slightly easier modified chicane at the end that accommodates sports cars just a little bit better. So, I mean, it's round 4 of the season. We had some brilliant racing in round 2 at Watkins Glen, and we also had some fantastic racing at Daytona in round 3. And the points are looking really quite spicy across the AM and the Pro field at the minute. But one thing I've got to ask is, my co-commentator here was out watching these cars in action in the real Sebring 12 hours last week. Casey, what was your weekend like?
Oh, it was incredible. Great racing, a lot of really tight racing throughout all the classes that were racing there last weekend. And, I wasn't thrilled with the finish for GTLM, the GTE, but, it was a really tight battle between the Corvette and the BMW there at the end, and the BMW so he wasn't having it, just punted him and, of course, got the penalty for it. So,
yeah.
But all in all, I mean, I spent about a week out there, and it was, I needed that. I needed
it. I saw some of that racing, and I was sat here watching it live as best I could. And it was some really good racing towards the end. That last 20 minutes was really something to behold. And hopefully, I think these guys this evening. Obviously, they put a lot of work into Sebring 12-hour and iRacing that's coming up this weekend. That's going to be their sort of their focus, if you will, for this weekend. But they've come out this evening to race at the Nurburgring GP, and the AMs are currently out on track, qualifying, doing their best to put themselves in a position to try and get some leverage on the championship. Obviously, we're on round 4. We're kind of chewing our way through it now. It'd be scary to think that in just another week's time we'll be halfway home to finishing season 2 of this series. And with GTE obviously heading by the bye, it's a little bit of a swan song for the GTE cars, and it's great to see that we've got some great support across a few teams, and we've got a good mix of driver classes and standards across as well. So I think Nürburgring GP is just going to bring some really good racing, and kind of hope these guys look after each other on this one. I think earlier on today in the World Series we had a little bit of a kerfuffle and a little bit of argy-bargy, should we say, in what those guys were doing. But I'm really looking forward to tonight, and hopefully these GTE cars handle well for them. And of course, the big thing that's happened with GTE class, the tyre change. So these cars now really eat their tyres. I mean, before you could do, like at Daytona, for instance, when I was doing the 24, you could do like 4 runs on the tyres and still have plenty left on there to have a go. Now, not the case at all. These guys are going to come in after a 30-minute race and probably used up around 20%, 25% of that tyre. And that is going to make a big difference to sort of how your car handles, how your car performs. Some of these guys might have done some setup tweaks to try and get them to just be a little bit more conservative, should we say, on the longer run. But right now, when they're out there qualifying, they're not bothered about tyre wear. They're just out there to try and get the best time. James Pierce, our lead AM, really flying with setting a lap time that's over a second and a half quicker than Blake Scott is in second. Now, James was a little bit concerned. I was talking to James earlier on this week. He was concerned about where he was in the title championship and things like that. But he's, it's early days. Got a lot of time left, and he's got a lot of pace to sort of have a chance of getting himself back. As we see Blake Scott on screen, just throwing it off track and making a bit of a meal out of that lap. And that will be, all in all, I think his qualifying done. James Pierce has only set the 1 lap. I mean, with a 48.9 or 48.8, sorry, he doesn't really need to go back out. I think he's proved his worth there. But obviously with the reverse grid, that's caught him out of 4. Watkins Glen, obviously, we didn't have the stream for Watkins Glen, but what happened at Watkins Glen was he was on the second race with the reverse grid. He got caught up in a big mess, got steering damage, and didn't score any points. Sorry, that was Imola. My apologies. We did see that at Imola, where he got caught up in that big wreck after the chicane. And then at Watkins Glen, he had another issue where he kind of
he got involved with another car. I forget exactly the driver that he was involved with, but
yeah, there was a bit of a thing there. But with what happened at Watkins Glen, which was really quite strange, and hopefully we can get that over to you guys. Is he had an off? He put a wheel on the final left-hander before you kind of rejoin back onto the NASCAR circuit. We see Kyle Smith, unfortunately, had a bit of an off with his BMW there, but James had an off, and then as he was coasting, trying to get the car refired, it would not start, and he had to coast the whole way down the length of that straight before the left-hander, and unfortunately lost a couple of positions because of it. So that's had a bit of a dent in his championship standings. But at the minute, it's this guy here who I believe is out front and showing what he's worth, and that's this Vulture Motorsports Ferrari 488 driven by Stephen Martinez, a returning driver for season 2, and really is showing what he can do. And let's see what sort of lap time he can put in here as his first lap time as he comes across the line. He has posted
52.69.
Yeah, so you're a little bit off the pace at the minute, but obviously it's a maybe some of these guys might not race on this track a hell of a lot. I mean, Kyle Smith there comes home, but he's not going to set a time, unfortunately. And there's John Casey not improving on his 56.4. So we've got a couple of guys out there, Miles Morse, Eric Kalaga, and Kyle Smith, who haven't posted times. But let's get back with Stephen Martinez, who is currently on his second flying lap. And let's see if he can put anything better up on the board to, maybe try and bridge the gap, try and increase the gap, or at least just maintain it from where he is at the minute. I think it's Blake Scott is your second place points leader in AM at the minute. So let's see as he comes through, puts the power down, gets up the hill into what is the Schumacher curves up here. Very tricky section of the track. Carl always wants to understeer away from you in this left-hander, and then always wants to understeer away from you back in the right-hander. So it's always fighting the front end through there. And then drops down a few gears here, be a third gear corner. Drops it into second, just to really get the power down. Back up into third. Does he keep it in third? Keeps it in third as he comes out. And then, again, be very careful not to run it too far out wide on the exit of that corner there. He comes up into this chicane. So obviously the GP chicane is this first, whether it's coned off. This is the sports car chicane. Did take a pretty aggressive line through there. Hopefully didn't get an off track. And then hug this right-hander to complete his second timed lap. And what is it going to be? It is a 51.7. So he does improve. And he does get up into, I think, 6th spot on the standings. So that is all the AMs qualified. Let's get the pros lined up. There we see the pros heading out to line up at the end of pit lane, ready to start their qualifying. And again, a little bit about the pros. I think we've got the championship leader with Kevin Brooks. He is the one to beat in that Corvette. Set the quickest time in practice with a 48.606, which is absolutely blisteringly quick round here. That's 0.3 quicker than the next guy, and about half a second. That was James Pierce. That was James Pierce. A Corvette-friendly track, this one. And Jeff Applegreen's at a 49.3. So let's see what sort of time these guys can do in qualifying. And that was the call to send these guys out onto track. And we've got some really handsome cars there. That's the full send racing Porsche. And that is being piloted by Mac Miller. It's the only full send entry we've got from that team. But we do have two drivers from the pole position esports team. And that is Derek McManus. And forgive me, I'm trying to tick some buttons here. It's Jamie Lawrence, I believe. Jamie Lawrence is running a livery this evening that doesn't really look like a PPR skin. Oh, it is. I take it back. He's got some. He's got San Diego State written all over it, so obviously he's very proud that he lives over there. Of course, I've never even stepped foot on American soil, so I couldn't comment whether it's a place to be proud of or not.
No comment.
Roger that. So,
It's California.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I get it. I think the Porsche. You see, we've had this debate in my team at the minute, and with what the Porsche is capable of, and I think we found at Sebring it was a little bit down on top end speed, especially on the back straight. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that Corvette is just really hooked up round here, but round a track like Sebring, obviously that's the next big race for the iRacing calendar. Corvette, worst car by far. It's
Yeah, I've been a little bit shocked by that, to be honest, because pretty much everywhere else,
it's rapid.
and I'm shocked because the Corvette typically handles really well. So,
well, it's strange because I did a 12. I did a. Did you do it with us? I can't remember now. We did a 12-hour charity race at Sebring, and we had some pretty stiff competition in that, but we ran the Corvette and we won it. Sorry, it's a 24-hour race. We won it in the Corvette, and it was an absolute joy to drive. It just handled good. It was good in a straight line. Loads of confidence, fuel saving we could do. It was just an all-round good car. And yet, at the minute, for some reason around Sebring, it's way off pace, and strange. But obviously, it goes without saying that around here, it is not off the pace. Well, at least it's not off the pace in the hands of Kevin Brooks, and we're with on screen Manuel Tolentino, which is Kevin's teammate over at here for SR Racing. And again, those guys do a great job. They're I was hanging out with them obviously in the downtime that we had with the stream, I think at Watkins Glen, and just a bunch of guys having some fun. It was great to hang out with the drivers really, and see what they're doing. Taking some pretty aggressive chunk of curb through there. Does he get an off track? Is this lap going to count for him?
Yeah, I don't know if that. Well, for Kevin Brooks there, I don't know if he would have got a 1X there or not. Definitely dropped the wheel off into the dirt though, a little bit.
Maximum attack as Kevin goes through the final chicane. Let's see how Tolentino handles it. On the brakes, turns in, real little dab of Oppo lock as he comes through the centre of that, but manages to get
Kevin
it well
Brooks.
Wow,
48.46. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's a quick lad. It's a decent time. Where does Jeff Applegreen and that 46 car there of Manuel goes into what will be third and fourth in the pro field. Sorry, Jeff Applegreen puts in a time that will take second. So some quick guys at the front of this pro field, and a splattering. I mean, you see how close it is back from between Daniel Tenorio and this 46 car. There was 4 100ths of a second between them. So that's going to be a battle to behold. Jamie Lawrence comes in with only 3 100ths of a second behind that, and then Mateusz Dubček with 2 100ths of a second behind that. Taylor Lane slots in between them. So to go from what is 6th place, which will be 4th in pros, back to 10th place, which is going to be 8th in pros, is being covered at the minute by 0.3 of a second. That is
right. It's dead at 4/10. Yeah.
That is very close. So we've got Derek McManus with a non-posted time on his first lap, so he's on his second lap. We've got it all to do with this one. Let's see what sort of lap time he can post in. So here he goes up to the Schumacher S's infamous section of track. Then he'll be dropping down from 5th gear into what is a 2nd gear corner here. Or not in the Porsche. He's obviously kept it in 3rd through there. So some drivers choosing to use 2nd, some drivers using 3rd. And then stretches the legs on the Porsche up here into the BEC chicane. Gets hard on the brakes there. Drops it into what will be a 2nd gear. 3rd gear guy. He obviously likes his likes to use a lot of revs and keep it in that gear. So comes across the line. Let's see what sort of lap time he's going to post. The 49.8. That's a decent time, and it puts him smack in the middle of this battle here. So anybody else going any quicker? I think that's all pretty much about it. We've got Jamie Lawrence on a cooldown at the minute. That, I believe, is all your pros. Qualifier. Sorry, Taylor Lane. How can I forget about Taylor Lane? Taylor Lane's just crossed the line. Did he go any quicker? He did a 49.5. He does, yeah. He improves on his lap time. That is massive. See the gap difference between third, fourth, and fifth in pro field? Let's take you through your standings here. So first off, we've got Kevin Brooks, class of the field at the minute with a 148.461. James Pierce, your lead am with a 48.8. James Costa with a 49.5. Jeff Applegreen with a 49.5. Manuel Tolentino with a 49.5. See a theme? 49.5, 49.5 for Matt Miller and Taylor Lane. Jamie Lawrence with a 49.7. Derek Manis with a 49.8. Daniel Tenorio with a 150 dead. And then back from there, we've got Matthias Dubchek with a 150.3. Blake Scott with a 150.4. Mark Scott with a 150.5. 51.2 for Michael Kalaga. 51.7 for Stephen Martinez. Those two teammates there. And then it's a 52.4 for Brendan Mailing. Errol and John Casey round out. And then we've got three guys that didn't set a lap. That's Eric Kalaga, Kyle Smith, and Miles Morse. But obviously those guys are going to be coming from the back of the field, and we shall see what they've got in store for us. So race 1 is the obviously we're going to take the standings that they've just set in qualifying. Race 2 is going to be a full reverse grid, obviously in the classic. So let's go ahead and start to get the server set up for these guys, and we can get round 4 underway.
Yep. Now, we were talking a little bit earlier about just how quick some of these guys are. So I actually had the opportunity, since, I think Rob was having some technical difficulties over in his parts of the world, had the opportunity to race with these guys at Watkins Glen. And, I like to think, I know I'm not the fastest guy in the world, but I like to think I'm pretty quick, especially in a GT car around there. And these guys were just blowing my doors off. So it was quite humbling to see the level of talent, even in the AM field. Just the level of talent that we have. In this field here, it was pretty cool. It was nice to be able to gauge where I'm at versus where some of these guys are, and it really quick guys in this field.
Yeah, there is. I mean, again, I'm not going to blow one's own trumpet, but I've got. When I was having a look the other day at the world records, I've got the 13th quickest time in a race session around Daytona in the Porsche, and I finished 3rd at Daytona, and I had a race with them, and Jeff and Nick Foster were just absolutely class of their own, and I had absolutely nothing for them. So there is some serious quick pace at the front of this field, and we've got some really decent sort of, as we said before, we've got some really decent names and drivers across the board. So it's, we've said it before, we'll say it again. They're not just out there racing for fun. They are racing for a prize that's worth quite a bit of money. So they're racing for a rig that is donated by Chris over at RacingSimRigs. And, that's a pretty healthy prize to want to have in your house. A full aluminium extrusion rig delivered to your front door is a reason to get on your computer and come and turn some laps and put some effort in, which these guys do and do well, and week in, week out, they're always in the practice sessions turning laps and trying to do the best that they can. So we'll wish them well as we just get the grid all sorted for race 1. Excuse me. So Casey, talk to me about. Let's go back to Sebring, man. Let's have because I want to go to Sebring. I want to do Daytona 24. I want to do Le Mans, and I want to do Sebring. They're kind of the 3 bucket list. Nordschleife is in there, but you went down for the whole week. And one thing I was gonna talk to you about. I haven't got a chance to really talk to you about it yet, but now seems a pretty decent time. You sent me some pictures of the track, and honestly, I showed it to a few guys I was on with at the time, having a conversation with. Couldn't believe that the state of it. It's chunks missing out of it left, right, and centre.
Oh yeah.
It's really is quite. And I don't think you probably, and I don't really get an understanding of it watching it on TV or obviously doing it in the sim. But there's real big potholes and things like that on the track that just make you go, "Wow!" Like these guys are taking these cars around here.
It's absolutely, and that was one of the coolest parts of my whole week. Was so move-in day at Sebring. Things at Sebring are run a little bit differently than probably anywhere else in the world, just simply because of, how do I put this? I mean, the fans at Sebring are just, the best way to put it is they're crazy. They're absolutely crazy. They will go out and they will camp if given the chance or the choice to where it would make a difference. They would go and camp out. They would pre-stage for like months at a time. But anyways, they open that up. They open up pre-staging, so you're sitting out in a different field outside the track for like 2 days, and then they open everything up on Wednesday. So Wednesday is move-in day. You go in, you set your camp up, you figure all out where you're going to be, and it's first come first serve. So you got to be in that pre-stage in order to get a good spot. So, but then later on that day, they open it up for fans to actually walk around the track. And that's where I got a lot of those pictures that I showed you. And I mean, there are chunks of track that, there's probably 2 foot by 4 foot sections that are about a ½ inch lower than the rest of, the surrounding concrete. And right in the racing line. I mean, I'm not talking 2 or 3 car widths off the racing line. I'm talking right down up against the wall, in turn 1. I mean, it was, and the whole time I'm just sitting there thinking, like, man, that would be absolutely crazy trying to go over top of that, doing 120, 130 miles an hour in a prototype. So, hats off to those guys for being able to put up with that. I think I would have to wear a mouthpiece in order to drive around there, because I'd probably end up biting my tongue off. But it is, I mean, and even, the drivers even say, don't pave it. Don't do it, because that's what makes Sebring special. So it definitely, the character of the track definitely helps separate, the men from the boys, so to speak. So
I think it's one track, I've got to say, where you kind of, you don't realise, I mean, like you sent me them pictures, but I can't think of another track where you go, that's acceptable.
yeah.
It's weird, really. You think that we've got the FIA over here and wherever, and it's quite surprising, really, that, you see racing drivers crying and moaning and all this sort of stuff because there's a little bit of whatever on the track here or there. But then you go there and there's like potholes, like, you could probably put your whole arm in. And it's like, wow, like, I mean, they race on that with these highly tuned, highly sprung, rigid, stiff cars. And the bumps, again, you see it, you'd have seen it at Sunset, but you can feel it in iRacing as well. When you see it live on the TV, you see them going through Sunset and it's like bang, bang, and the car's just bottoming out all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to see it. I think it's something that's blowing my mind.
Being able to walk around there and to see it up close for myself with my own eyes, it's shocking. I mean, you go to Sebring, the track is worn out. That it's bumpy. But to see it for yourself and to get to walk on it, it's, one, my mind was absolutely blown, because a lot of that concrete has been there since they first poured it. So Mario Andretti, Tom Christensen, Scott Pruitt, you're talking some of the very best that sports car racing has ever produced. That concrete that they raced on is still there. And to me, like, that's what blew me away. Not to mention that airfield, because that's originally what it was there as, was a World War II training base. There are still mooring points in the middle of the racing line, and both turn 17 down the front stretch and into turn 1, where they used to tie down the old World War II aircraft. So the history. I mean, both, whether it's military, you're talking world history, racing history, it's all there. And it is, I got goosebumps, man. Just sitting here talking about it. Really. Like it's that level of just, I was in awe. So, but it's a special place.
No, and it really is. It really is. It's a. I think it's a place that's just got so much history to it, and as my game loads in, bear with it. I think it's a place that's just got so much history to it. And I think it's just fascinating that it's like, that it's got all that, that history to it. But not only that, but the racing surface being what it is, which is just a complete words that you can't use on here. But you know what I mean? It's just bad. Like, the amount of
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, it has been. I'm not gonna say completely repaved, but there are some spots like over there by. There's a couple of sections over there between like turns 2, 3, and 4. Some of that has been redone. I'm not gonna say it's perfect. I don't think there's any section around Sebring that's even close to being perfect. But so it's not all super bumpy, super worn out, but I think the part of the track that is the oldest would be the backstretch, and then going down 17, the front stretch, and turn 1. Those I think are pretty much still original. So pretty much the whole back half and the first sector of the track. It's old, it's worn out. You can see it when the cars go through there.
Well, there was that debate. I think I dropped onto a podcast or broadcast they were talking about there and saying what they are going to do in regards as whether they should repave it or not. And somebody says no, and there was another guy that said yes. And the arguments for no and yes were both pretty valid. So whether they do, who knows? But
yeah. Well, I mean, at some point, it will get to the point where they're going to have to do something. And I think that time, much as I would hate to say it, I think that time is probably coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not getting better every year. It's only getting worse.
Oh,
so
100%. There'd be more chunks ripped up. It gets to the point where is it going to be a danger if the track starts to deteriorate?
Exactly.
You're going to start getting bits of concrete flying up and hitting windscreens and all that, because that then is a danger to life, of course. But might not happen. Might happen. Who knows?
Yeah, I would say, if anything, I would say probably at least sometime in the next 10 to 15 years. I think that may be the most that they could get out of it in the shape that it's in. You're talking, it's already almost 80 years old. So, in some parts, those parts that I described.
Yeah, that's
I think you're talking about a professional racing track. That's a lot of life. So
it's got to be the oldest racing surface. I mean, I'm going to guess that the Nordschleife has been repaved more times.
Well, that was repaved only a couple years ago. They did the whole thing. So before they did Daytona was getting up there. I think that, but not nearly what you're talking about with Sebring. So I think that's probably a fairly good guess to say that Sebring is most likely, if not the oldest, definitely one of the oldest in the world. So for that caliber of racing, for that, you're talking top tier motorsports. So
yeah, it's showing its age, but I think I'm pretty sure that they won't do anything with it in the next couple of years at least. But it's whether you get bits of track start flaking up and then you have this inconsistent, this inconsistency across the track. What you call it? The you're going to get old and you're going to get new, and then there's going to be problems with grip and whatnot, and there's all that inconsistency with what surface you're racing on. So Who knows? It's a hypothetical question, but I think they'll. I think they've got to do something with it at some point, though. It's not going to last forever.
No. Unfortunately, you're absolutely right. Which is a shame, because it does produce some of the best racing, I think, of any of the American tracks. So when they do something, I hope that they'll try to keep it, not completely redo it, but maybe do a little bit here, a little bit there, just kind of smooth things out and not just completely tear it up. So.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that. It'd be nice to keep it as it is, because at the end of the day, it's a pretty prestigious track, and it's a track that we're going to want to keep as it is. I think it would be a shame I think it would lose some of its character then.
It really would. Well, that's what guys like Felipe Nasr and some of the other guys that have come over from Formula One. They're like, all the tracks are super smooth. They don't have any character. They're like, but then you go to a place like Sebring, they're like, holy cow. And they love it. Because then it becomes, the track in and of itself presents its own challenge, and each corner is different. Whereas they, a lot of them have said you don't get that Formula One.
No, you don't. You're right.
So,
all these nice, smooth, it's probably smoother than any road surface that you go out on, and you go to Sebring, as we've said, and it's just this pothole-ridden bump fest. It's like, how the hell are they racing these DPIs or these, GTLM, GTD cars or whatever? And yeah, it's a bit crazy, but you know what? Far more importantly, rather than real motorsport, which obviously we do have a massive interest in, and we'll talk a bit more about real motorsport in between the next two races, but we have got something slightly more pressing to worry about, and that is race one of tonight's little adventure around the Nurburgring. So you see on there, the track temperature's risen slightly. We are a little bit later on in the day, so it's 25 degrees Celsius, which is 77 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you who are of using that measurement. And we have just gone over into the race session. So this is where guys will line up on the grid and get themselves sorted, and hopefully they're all thinking about the same thing, and that's finishing the race rather than doing anything silly or wacky. So So let's put a quick message out to the drivers here. Guys, good luck. Just remember your start zones, and don't forget to leave about a 5-second gap between the AMs and the pros. Best of luck, everyone. Keep it clean. So there we go. So there we have it. And those guys are now pulling away onto track. And that's the Porsche pace car leading them away. So we are going to stay with the AM field here, the pro field even, just as we get up the hill and get these guys off to the start. And it is Kevin Brooks out there at the front at the minute. So let's he's going to lead us all the way. So they come around into the final part of the track. So we lead Kevin Brooks leads them into the starter zone. So starter zone is between the DRS logo on the right, and he hits the pedal. We have a green flag on track, and here they are, all line astern. Matt Millers and Taylor Lane are the first ones to start jutting out of positions. They come down into the braking of turn one. Will they make it through? They do make it through. We've got Jeff Applegreen on the outside of Manuel Tolentino, and he gets a place. He gets a place off of Jeff there. Now that is quite a big thing if he can keep Jeff behind him, because Jeff and Kevin, and he puts it sideways, but he gathers it back up, pushes his foot straight through the brake pedal. It was a nice save there. That was. It was cold tyres, and just lit the back up too much, but hit the brake pedal hard and she'll sort of sort herself out. So
yeah, what a save by Manuel.
But he's gone from hero to zero, second to first, and second to last now. So he's got a lot of work to do. But here we go with the AMs. So James Pearce is off up the road, followed briskly by Blake Scott. There's a couple of cars with damage. I think we had a little bit of a bump on the run-up to the green. So there we go. We've got the two Scott Association racing cars there. Blake Scott and Mark Scott. That's a father-son entry. And yeah, so Mark Scott used to race Porsches in the real life. And he's got a skin on his car there that replicates the Porsche that he used to race in the real world. So he's off up the road. Blake catching the dirt up through the Schumacher S's. And we look at Mark Scott just behind. So obviously these guys here just getting themselves settled. They don't want to do anything silly. This is early part of the race, and they're just going to bed themselves down and get themselves comfy for what is the next sort of 25 minutes of racing. And we have your first lap times going up there. So there's Kevin Brooks has pulled just over a second and a half on Jeff Applegreen. I think the track definitely favours the Corvette slightly more than the Porsche. I think that's one thing we saw in the practice sessions, that the Porsche was just a little bit down in comparison to what the Corvette could do, and it's become quite apparent there, and the gap is currently eking out all the while. But they're getting a nice string here. There's a nice single file train of cars. No one's really doing anything silly on anyone yet. All just getting themselves sorted. Here we see the lead train. And again, this is like these three, well, obviously Kevin has ran away at the minute, but there's this little couple here with Jeff and Mac. And then back is the rest of the field, and that is Derek, Manuel. Manuel's already came up through those to get himself back into a fifth spot at the minute. And they're all pretty well close together, the rest of the pro field. And that Porsche there just seemed to hold a tighter line as Manuel, I think, had a little bit of a...
He's looking to put a move. Yeah. Looks like he's looking to get around Derek already. So a quick recovery here by Manuel.
Yeah, he's done well to get himself back up to that position, and you never know if he can keep this pressure on and get past Derek here promptly. He might be able to even catch back up as he closes right up to the back of him there, and he's all over the back of that PPR Racing Porsche. Now he's in the tow, so will he be able to get a move into turn one? Don't know. He's got a little bit of a toe. He kind of juts out and has a look there, but then tucks back in. So he wasn't close enough that time round. But then Derek runs wide. He puts a lock-up on and he runs off the track. But Manuel can't really do anything. But Derek still, he's ran wide into there. And early battles here. But that car of Manuel doesn't look settled. He's moving around.
No, the back end on that car is definitely twitching around a little bit. Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, it's moving around a hell of a lot. He's not comfortable in that car at the minute. He needs to get himself settled down and get some temperature into the tyres, and then he can plan to do something, because he can't really do anything at the minute with a car that's moving around that much under him. And then Derek has managed to pull just over a second on him there when he was tucked right up behind him at one point.
Yeah, I'm going to hazard to guess that that's probably got something to do with tire heat. He's probably cooked those tires, one from when he spun, and then two from as hard as he's been pushing to get back up there. So kind of just take it easy for a lap.
Yeah, that's what he needs to do. Just take it easy, take a chill, and let it reload and reset back in, and then he'll get himself sorted. As we don't have anyone at the minute who has had anything more than a little wobble. I think that 46 car sideways moment was the worst one we've had so far. So these guys are doing really well to keep themselves all in order and keep themselves all doing what they should be doing. Pretty much a perfect split to Pro-Am ratio at the minute. We've got 9 pros, 11 AMs. So a 20 car field at the Nurburgring today. but if it's when it gets down to it, into the closing minutes, we're going to see this pro field probably start moving around a lot. Still with Derek McManus here, gaps not really come down considerably there. Oh, it has. Sorry, he's come down a couple of tenths on that lap. So Manuel's got the pace, 100%. He just needs to make sure he manages his tyres well. Doesn't do anything silly like he did on lap 1. That's really hurt him. That's really dropped him back and put him in a position where Matt Miller and Jeff Applegreen are able just to keep moving on up the field and putting that gap up. So Kevin Brooks, obviously, he's just run away with it so far. Nearly 3 seconds is the gap up the front. And we can see their fastest lap. Manuel's last lap was a 1:51.5 and Derek's was a 1:50.9. Now, that would be because, obviously, Manuel had that little moment and didn't do him any favours, but we'll see what the lap times are when they cross the line at the end of this one. Again, some cars, you can see there, it was quite interesting to the entry of that. Some cars, ooh, that might be a slowdown there. Really took a big chunk of grass and gravel, which usually results in you getting a slowdown, but he might have got away with that.
Yeah, I think he got away with it there.
We're about to find out. No, he didn't. He did not get away with it. He did not. He just queued up over the radio to say, take the position. Now, that is great news for that 46 car. He goes past with ease. And then Derek slots back in, so he did get a slowdown up to the Schumacher S's. And, of course, that now drops him back into the field of Mateusz Dubček, Taylor Lane and Daniel Tenorio. We've got no Andrew Hewson tonight. It's his lad's birthday, and I believe, I know that he's getting his very first rig. So Andrew's built his lad a sim rig for his birthday, and we wish obviously his lad a happy birthday and all the best.
Oh, nice.
And hopefully we get mini Andrew Hewson on the rig and get him out there racing. So we can see that James Pearce again crossed the field with the AMs. He's really got the toe down and managed to put some distance between him and the rest of the field. But Blake Scott, Mark Scott, Michael Calaga, Stephen Martinez, all the way back really to John Casey, are pretty much tied up together. So nice little string of cars there. Really well behaved in this race, I've got to say.
Yeah, so far, like you said, pretty clean racing, but really tight. It's, surprisingly so.
There it is. I think, obviously you're going to get a couple of guys that are kind of the other end of the scale. Obviously we've got Kevin Brooks who's really, giving everyone a bit of a pace at the minute. But from there back, it only takes one moment like what Manuel had, and it's going to change everything because people are going to start moving around in there. But Manuel really has managed to put a gap there up to nearly... he's put over a second on Derek McManus after that slowdown. So, doing well at the minute. But I think Derek's got the pace to get back to Manuel in that 46 Corvette. Over the course of this race, we've got plenty of time left in it. It's 20 minutes remaining of the race so far.
Yeah, well, just watching... watching the attitude of Derek's car, the one thing he's got going for him, I know we mentioned this earlier, that the Corvette just seems to be eating everything alive, at least on the straightaways. But that Porsche looks very planted. He's not fighting the car. It's not wiggling around on him like we see Manuel's doing, quite a bit here. So if he can just take care of his tires, he might end up having a shot at him here later on in the race.
Yeah, I think we had a slowdown there for Daniel Tenorio as he came through that chicane because he had to back off quite a bit after the exit of the last turn. So let's just have a look here what happened to him. I think it was slightly before what we're seeing on the screen at the minute, but we're seeing what happened on the slowdown. Now here it is. So this is going to be as he comes up into this BEC chicane. What happened? Did he take a big chunk of curb? Oh, he did. He put the wheel all the way over, and then on the exit here, he just has to pull over to the right and let Jamie Lawrence go. And of course, that is then a swap round for the last position in the pro field. So good racing so far, really quite tight. And it bodes well for a pretty sterling race towards the end of this. We've got 3 cars there: Derek McManus, Mateusz Dubček, and Taylor Lane. We're talking tenths between them. But at the minute, just holding each other off and not really giving an inch. And I'd say Derek is caught way back up to the back end of that 46 Corvette. So there's only 8 tenths in it between Derek and Manuel there. And that bodes well for Derek because Manuel had the pace, but you're right, maybe he's just put too much on his tyres early. He's trying to get them to cool down. Maybe they're not cooling down. Cars maybe not just doing what he wanted to do. And to show a lot of promise in the early part of this race is now looking like, well, maybe he's going to get caught back up by these 3 guys who are, just working together, not doing anything too silly, not pushing too hard, doing the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Take a look. Yeah, I mean, Manuel he's a little bit quicker than the guys ahead of him. Like Mac Miller. I think Mac Miller did a 150.6 last time by. Manuel did a 150.3. So he's not miles quicker than the guys ahead. So perhaps the best thing he can do is just kind of take care of his stuff. We're talking, we're almost halfway through this race already. That's going to be a tall order to try and chase down somebody by 5 or 6 seconds, only beating 2 or 3 tenths a lap. So
we've got a car in the pits. That's Daniel Tenorio, who's in the pits at the minute. Why is Daniel sat in the pits?
What'd he do?
This is not a pit stop race. They do not need to do anything. He's back out. But what happened to him? Why did he go in? Did he have a moment? Did he have an off? I don't see any damage on his car. No, he just pulls it in. Oh, well, we'll have to find out what happened there because that is an unscheduled or unrequired, should we say, pit stop for that Twisted Racing number 17. And of course, James Pierce, your leader of the AM field at the minute in the other Twisted entry. Andrew Hewson is a Twisted driver. He's not with us this evening, of course, as we've discussed. But yeah, it's a
that's puzzling.
It's an odd one. We'll no doubt find out after the race as to what happened with Daniel. And see why he was required to make that pit stop. But let's get back to this battle that's heating up here between Derek and Manuel Tolentino. So you see the 3 guys behind. There's been a change back there. I think Jamie Lawrence has put the position onto Taylor Lane. So he's been able to get a move done there. And Mateusz Dubček, to be fair, the 3 of them have dropped off of the back of Derek McManus here. And they come down into this chicane here, into the sweeping right-hander. Gap at the minute between those 2 is just around the second mark and has been really since Derek got that slowdown and had to let Manuel go through. Again, we've got Corvette versus Porsche. So it's at the minute, it's Corvette in the lead, followed by Porsche. Corvette, Porsche, and then obviously Daniel Tenorio is your last car in the pro field, and obviously that's a Porsche as well. So Porsche is probably the preferred car at the minute. And as we look through the AM field, splattering of Ferraris, Eric Kalaga's done really well to get himself up into what is 5th position in the AM field. I think he started right down the yard. I don't think he set a time, so he's been able to put some moves on and get himself up into 5th position in the only Ford alt there, which is nice.
I was just looking at that, and I was gonna make a comment. I commend Eric for staying loyal to the Ford GT here. That's a car that hasn't been used on the service now for coming up on a little over a year. I think a year and a half. So it's definitely not up to date, with the other GTEs. So
it's got some differences, and I think they still use it in, I want to say, ESS series. They don't use it in the IMSA series.
No.
So it is a car that I don't think there's. You see any Fords at the weekend? Was a Ford GT a thing at the weekend?
At Sebring?
Yeah.
No, they haven't been in IMSA since 2019 was their last year.
Right. Okay.
Yep, Ford discontinued their factory program with Chip Ganassi at the end of 2019.
Gotcha. So it's a car that's sort of becoming a bit of a historic, historic one. But I've got to say, there's something about the Ford to drive that I just really enjoy it, and I don't know what it is, but it's got something with its steering, and it's just so pointy. It's unreal. It feels like it kind of, it's all this sleek, really low to the ground. It just feels like it looks, and
Yeah.
I really enjoy driving it, and it's a shame I think it's not being used as much as what it maybe is what it should be, because I just think it looks really cool, especially at night when you get those fins down the side that light up. It just looks really cool, and I think it's one of the cars that's I don't know, it's kind of one of them unique cars. Motorsport with that Ford, that whole thing of the GT going back to the GT40 and endurance and sports car racing is one of the more prestigious sort of names that we've got, and it's a shame that it's not being used in current day real world motorsport. But obviously, this whole class is unfortunately going by the wayside, I think, in the end of the year.
Yeah, well, it really is bittersweet. I love the GTE cars. They're an absolute blast to drive here on iRacing. But unfortunately, the factory support just isn't there, and it's been dying off for the last couple of years. So it's a shame, and I hate to see it happen. But GT3 really, that's what's coming down the pipe for these cars. I know Corvette Racing, they've already committed to convert some of their current, and with bespoke chassis coming, later on. But yeah, this is pretty much the last year for GTEs. So anybody that can get out and see them in person, I highly encourage it. They're a blast to watch. They're a blast to see in person.
Yeah, and of course this Porsche here is probably one of the most iconic sounding cars of all racing cars, let alone in here. And these really do make some pretty impressive sounds, as we can see. James Pearce, with these guys having a little bit of a battle up here in the pro field, James Pearce has been able to get his car into a position where he's now attempting to overtake the pro, what is the final car in the pro field. Bit questionable as to why he's doing that, because he's 14 seconds in the lead, so doesn't really need to be putting himself in a position where he's fighting these guys right now. These guys are battling for position, so obviously he needs to start making a move if the 14-second gap he's got starts to come down. But at the minute, if he can maintain that, he's going to take a nice, easy victory here, as we see Taylor Lane all over the back of Jamie Lawrence.
Yeah, these two are really going at it.
Yeah, Taylor's just trying to find where he's going to maximise the most. He gets a really good run out of there, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to put any sort of move onto Jamie here. Closes back up into the right-hander in the braking zone. Hasn't got anything there, no, so he's going to just stick behind, use the toe to try and bring that gap down. And again, he's better on the brakes. Yeah, he's better on the brakes again, so the gap, you can just see it as he comes into these corners. He's able to get on the brakes a little bit harder, a little bit stronger, reducing that gap down into the Schumacher S's. None of them taking enough curb to get them to slow down, of course, which we saw Derek get earlier on. And again, I think Jamie got a slightly better run out of that corner there, so the gap, nothing that Taylor can do with from that distance back into the chicane appear. But we are within 10 minutes to go of this first race, and then we're going to have a race 2 with a full reversed grid in the classes. So everybody at the minute is on the lead lap, so it will be a full back to front reverse grid of each class. go on board with Taylor Lane now as he comes up through the gears. Not really got anything for him at the minute.
He does seem to be a lot better on the brakes, though. That's the one area that he's really got working for him right now. But he definitely needs one of these corners. He's in order to get by, he's going to have to maximize his exit.
Yeah, absolutely. He's really going to have to do it. So, you know, the gap there has probably stayed about the same since the start of this race, and those two guys really going at it, trying to make the best that they can. As James Pearce manages to get around Mateusz Dubček, not for position, of course, just for track position. And we'll see if James catches up to these before the end of the race. I don't know whether he will be able to or not, but if he does, then hopefully not get too involved in the battle that these guys have. I don't know whether it was a little bit of a sideways moment or not there from Jamie Lawrence. Again, up and over the curbs, into a hard braking zone, into a left-hander, and Taylor closes back up again in the braking zone. Seems to just have that car set up so it's really good in these sort of twisty sections, but then gets to the straight, and I think that the Porsche there of Jamie Lawrence just starts to creep up the road.
Yeah, Jamie definitely seems to have that car a little bit more trimmed out. Definitely gets down the straights a little bit better. So that's definitely going to be challenging for Taylor to get by.
Very much is. I mean, he's fairly close coming out of here. I mean, if he's got a good toe, he might be able to do something, but he needs to stay in that draft. There's no point looking out. No, I don't think he's got anything for him, and I think maybe the car ahead is helping him. He's on the brakes really late there and closes right up to the back of him. That was a moment where I was thinking there was going to be some contact there, but he manages to stay off the back of him, off of Jamie Lawrence. And again, Taylor taking a wider apex in, taking a later apex in to try and maximise the run out of the corner as they come up on lap traffic of John Casey. And Derek was just a little bit unsure as to which way John was going to go then. But John just kept it over on the right, which is the right thing to do. Keep it out of the way, don't get involved. And job done. Again, line astern at the minute, we've got nothing really down the order that stands out that there's going to be any problems for these guys. All big, nice, helpful gaps. Stephen Martinez probably. Steve Martinez has got Brandon Malin only a second up the road, so we'll see what he can do there. Everyone is still running. Everyone's still in the race.
Oh, Taylor. Way out of shape.
Gets it on the gravel, and that's nothing you want to do, because that is going to end your race. If you want to do that, it could quite easily grip up in the wrong place and spit you back the other way, and then you find yourself picking bits of your car up with a bucket. So, and he takes a big chunk of curb there, so is he going to get anything from that? He needs to just settle down here. He's had that, obviously, that moment, and that's rattle the cage. Don't fight it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. We're into just under 6 minutes to go, which is going to probably be about 3 or 4 laps, I'd say, of racing left in this one. So take you down from the front. Kevin Brooks has built up an 11-second lead on Jeff Applegreen. Mac Miller is, I'd say, he's really gotten close up to Jeff. It was a 2-second gap that's now just a smidge over a single second. And then we've got the recovering Manuel Tolentino after his first lap shenanigans that he had with putting that car at a 45-degree angle to everything else that was out there. But he's done really well to get himself back up into 4th position. Derek McManus just behind him, and then Jamie Lawrence behind that. Taylor Lane really trying everything he can to get up onto the back of Jamie. Whether he can, that's a different story. And then we have your first position of Am and James Pearce.
Yep, just going back to what Taylor did there about a lap ago, you could see he was just trying to get on the throttle just a little too soon, just trying to stay in the back of Jamie Lawrence here, and it just pushed him out wide, and he just dropped the wheel off just a little bit into the kitty litter, and it just really upset that car. He got lucky that didn't shoot him off into a wall. So.
Yeah. Well, that's happened to me. It's that red and white tyre barrier over the right-hand side doesn't take any prisoners. And if you put any part of your left wheels onto that gravel on the exit,
it just grabs it. It just grabs the car and sucks you in.
Spin you around in the barrier. Good night. Thank you very much for coming. And here's a shovel to pick your car up with. And we've got Kyle Smith there, single BMW entry, just leaving the pits, and I think he's had to stop for a drive-through penalty. Obviously, these guys are only allowed 15x or 15 incident points before they have to serve a drive-through penalty. There's two guys that are getting close to that threshold as well at the minute in the Anfield. We're not going to say who they are, but they are edging closer to getting to that limit of getting a drive-through. And there's Matt Miller using all the road, and I don't know whether he's going to be able to get to Jeff. I think that might be a little bit of a bridge too far. We shall see. There's going to be one driver out there who's going to be really wanting to try and do his stuff. And forgive me, I think I got it wrong in thinking that Stephen Martinez was at the top of the championship points. I believe it's actually Michael Calaga, which is the other Vulture Sim Sports car. Miles Morse just had a little bit of a moment there, all on his own.
Well, I think he had a little bit of a moment, definitely, but then he just kind of stayed out of the way. Let Jeff and McNamara go here.
Didn't really want to get involved in that, but this is going to be a battle here with Michael Calaga and Mark Scott. So Michael, I believe he is top of the points at the minute in the AM. I'm just going to double check that before I continue any further with what I was saying. He is indeed. So currently Michael's on 278 points, Blake Scott is on 258, Mark Scott is on 246, Stephen Martinez 236, Brent Bravada 226, and James Pearson 222. So with that said, with James being sort of 56 points adrift to where Michael is, that's going to bring it down by about 8 points, I believe. So there's, what is that, 4 positions between them. So it's going to be 6 points he's going to bring that gap in by. Michael's going to want to try and get around Blake Scott here in the latter stages of this race. It's in his interest to do that, because ultimately if he can get around Mark, and I doubt he's going to get to Blake, because Blake really has disappeared off into the sunset, but that's then just going to bring it to a point where he's still managing that lead over the Scots. But Blake and Mark will both gain points over Michael if it carries on as it is.
Now, do we know if we've gotten the white flag yet?
Good question, well presented. I don't think we have. I think the white flag is going to be next time by. So I think white flag will be next time by. Kevin just coming through the final chicane and onto the backstretch to take what I believe will be the white flag.
Oh, Michael Calaga got into the back of Mark Scott there just a little bit. Now going up through the Schumacher S's, Mark's got a pretty big gap here. He's got about 2 or 3 car lengths back to Michael again. But Michael was all over the back of him.
Yeah, I mean, so that was down into that big sweepy right-hander, wasn't it? So
yep.
Just a little bit of a moment there. Bit of contact. And then backs away. But that also brings Eric Calaga in. Now, Eric's...
Oh, Michael's going for it. Into the chicane. Nope, not close enough.
No, he was not close enough there as he went in. He thought about it. He made the look, did the dummy to the right, to the left. Could not get it done. And now as these guys this is the white flag lap. This is the final lap of the race. And Mark Scott positioning his car in a place where he's trying to, but I'll be honest with you, I think he's really outbroke himself there, and he's locked up, he's ran wide, and this opens the door for Michael can't get round the outside, looks to the inside. He's not going to get anything there either. And they reform back up. And Michael Kalaga is going to want to get past him. There's no two ways about it. He's in top of the championship at the minute. That's in his head. He's thinking, I need to stay up there. As Mark Scott takes a healthy amount of curb, which would no doubt give him an off track, but I think he's pretty okay on those at the minute, so I think he's all right. And again, this is where the Ferrari kind of suffered a little bit out of there because he just didn't get the power down as well as the Porsche, but this is where the Ferrari's going to gain it back because the Ferrari's got much more in the way of straight line speed over the Porsche. So closes up in the braking zone, really on the back of him, really
going to get him right here.
Up to the Schumacher S is probably not going to do anything here. This is not an overtaking part of the track unless you have the world's biggest you-know-whats. And that is the end of the race for Kevin Brooks. Sorry, we're focusing that hard on the battle. Matt Miller just pull in onto the back of Jeff Applegreen. But let's get to this battle here for third and fourth place. And Eric Kalaga is behind them. So they're technically third, fourth and fifth place. Could be decided as they come up the hill. I don't think that gap's going to come down enough for him to launch an attack, but we'll see. Into the braking zone,
trying to get there.
I think he's clear. I think Mark's got this one in the bag. Really good race from these guys. That was impressive to say the least. That these Mark held off Michael, and Eric did a fantastic job to get right up on the back of these. Bear in mind that Eric, I think, started second to last. That was good. Really good racing from those guys there, and it's good to see a nice bunch of cars in regards to having a Porsche versus Ferrari versus Ford. That was really good to see. And then we've got the last of the cars crossing here. Errol Urukskoy has crossed the line in 16th overall. Daniel Tenorio finishes, unfortunately, the last car on the lead lap. Casey, if you'd like to do the honours, that would be fantastic.
All right. So Kevin Brooks, he is your overall winner in Pro. Jeff Applegreen in second. Mac Miller third. Fourth, Manuel Tolentino. Fifth, Derek Ekmanis. Sixth was Jamie Lawrence. Seventh, Taylor Lane. And then your AM winner, James Pierce, managing to get around Matusz Dubček in ninth. And Blake Scott, top 10, second in AM. Mark Scott, third in AM. Michael Kalaga, fourth in AM. Eric Kalaga, fifth. Steven Martinez, sixth in AM. Braden Mailing, seventh in AM. And Errol Urksoy, up to eighth now? Eighth in AM? Yeah.
Something around there.
Yeah, Daniel Tenorio, seventh. We're really not sure what happened to him there, why he had to make that pit stop. He comes home 17th. John Casey, 18th. Miles Morse, 19th. And Kyle Smith rounds out the field, 20th overall.
So Kyle Smith, everybody finished within 2 laps of the leader. So Kyle Smith will actually be promoted to first place on the run up to this. So he's going to be your pole sitter, and it'll be interesting to say the least to see what happens in race 2. Race 2 is usually where we have some unfortunate and sometimes unwanted problems and fireworks. So we will see what happens with these guys, but that was a pretty decent race to one. I'll be honest with you, I was really impressed with the standards. The field seems really quite sort of close knit and compact, and no one's really able to get the jump on anybody else, and really round up for a good race towards the end there between Mark Scott, Michael Kalaga, and Eric Kalaga.
Yeah, it was real good, real tight racing, and like you said, for the most part, everybody was minding their P's and Q's. And actually, Dan Tenorio, he's jumped in the chat here, said he got a penalty, and that's why he had to make that stop and go.
So he must have got a slow down Schumacher S's then, I'm guessing, and then didn't clear it in time. I think I might have hit that.
Oh, yeah, because he didn't try clearing it until he got over to the front stretch. Yeah, it only gives you, I think, 20 or 30 seconds.
Yeah, you got to clear it within that, and I'm going to guess that you didn't do it. That's unfortunate, really. But it's played into your hands now because you're on the you're sitting
Be
pretty
right
on
up at the
pole.
front.
You are indeed. So that is you right up on the front of that. And that
Go
is,
get them, Dan. Get them in race 2, man.
yeah, you're in the right place to do it.
Oh no! Had it down to 0.1 and it wouldn't go away.
Oh, we've all been there. That is just a heartbreaking moment that you can't do anything about, and it's just like, oh, please go away. But it's sometimes it's always better just to go, hey, you know, I'm going to get this out of my life as quick as humanly possible. And there we go. So race 2 session is
All right.
about to go live.
Harry, while you're setting that up, I'm going to take a quick break and I will be right back.
No problem at all.
All right, and I am back.
And we are welcome to have you back. So I've got to laugh at this statement that Jeff's put here. If I never drive this track again, it really won't hurt my feelings. So Jeff there, very happy to voice his disapproval and pleasure of racing around here. So
It's you know, I can't blame him. It's one of those tracks that either you love it or you hate it. And
he certainly doesn't love it, that's for sure.
no,
He's just put there 49% brake pass, and it was still not rotating. So yeah, there's not much else you can go. Not much else you can go with taking that back any further, because the second you go any further back than that, and you hit the brake pedal, you might as well just put have installed a handbrake in the car and pulled it. So,
I mean, I don't know about you, but I know me. If I was driving the Porsche RSR at 49% brake, no, that's just straight on into the tire barrier backwards.
It would be tricky, to say the least. Braden Mailings, but have you tried it on 40% brake bias? That will make your car rotate nicely.
Oh yeah, it'll be rotating all right. Doing donuts, braking zone.
Yeah, that'll be a back to into the barrier job for sure. So just as we're loading into the session here, I think it's fair to say we've seen. I don't think we've ever had it where we've got the leaders of both classes on the same race putting that much of a gap between the rest of the field.
No.
Because Kevin really, and I mean really, gave them a lesson in that. And then James did exactly the same in the Anfield. But you know what that means? They've got to come from the back of their classes today. So, you know,
Yeah.
they've got a lot of work to do. Right behind the rest of the. Let's see what happens.
You know, well, we do this, you know, each time we do a broadcast. So prediction.
Prediction. You know what? Another thing I was thinking as well, and it's just come to me there. Have we ever? You know what? I don't think I've had it in World Series or the Super Trofeo Series, and I'm pretty sure I've never had it in this, where we've had the same Pro and Am winner of both races.
No, I don't think we have. Well, I think we've had one repeat, you know, the same in one of the classes. I don't think we've ever had.
Yeah, we've definitely had a double winner in like the Pro or the Anfield. I don't think we've ever had a double back-to-back of both classes. It's gonna be interesting.
I mean, it could happen.
Could happen. I mean, the thing is, James Pearce is. I mean, both cars, the Corvette. I don't know what it is. This track obviously just loves the Corvette. Really handles well, and just suits the track down to the ground. And of course, a bit of big news that Andrew Newsom. I don't know if he will be joining us soon, obviously because of what's going on. He has requested that I put him on the grid, so I have slotted him in at the back if he gets back from his evening out. So if he does manage to make it back, he is on the grid to line up if he wishes to at the back. But he has swapped to the Corvette.
Well,
So
there you go.
He's gone out of his Porsche and hung the keys to that and jumped into a car that I think he feels are far more suitable. And one thing I found out not so long ago as well is he actually owns a Corvette. So it was a bit strange for him to ever branch off to the Germanic side of motorsport anyway, because if you've got one in the garage, you tend to think your loyalty would be with the car that you actually own. But he's decided to go with the Porsche. And we've got one more driver in. So we've got James Costa, who sat out of the first race because apparently he couldn't get into the session, but he's reset his basic UI and everything else, and he's able now to get himself into the session. So we shall see what happens in race 2. I want to say we are missing one or two drivers from the Anfield. Not too sure who they are yet. Let me have a quick look at the standings. See. Yeah, I think we are missing a couple of drivers from the results from race 1. So here we are. We see a little bit of a battle there between John Casey and I think that's Miles Morse in that Ferrari. Oh no, it'll be Braden Mailing. Sorry, Miles Morse is not in the session. That's one of the cars I think we've lost from race 1. Sorry, forgive me. That's not John Casey. That's James Costa. My apologies. That car with the colour scheme looks a little bit similar to. At a glance to see what the what John Casey's schemes are, but now you look at it, it's completely different. What am I talking about? Just about ready to go racing here.
And there we go. Now I'm finally.
Did you manage to find your feet there?
Yeah, it took me a couple more minutes, but we got there.
Oh, you're in now, and that's the main thing. interesting new paint scheme there on that Porsche. Very handsome looking bit of kit, to be fair.
Which one's that?
That's the 68 of James Costa.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was checking that out last race. Looked like a lion head or something on the side.
It's the business. That's
Really
for sure.
sharp. Really sharp.
So I'm just looking back here to see. Matthias Dubček is another driver that we've lost from. We've lost from race 1. To see where he is at. Let's just have a little look here and see what's going on. Oh, I'm getting ready for. I think I'm going to go with the prediction of the same winners of race 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with it.
I think that's, yeah. I think Kevin is going to be hard to hold off for anybody in this field. But let me throw something else at you, though. Dan Tenorio is going to be starting up towards the front here. Now, we both know he's pretty quick.
Yes.
If he can jump out to a lead, you know, and put enough space between him and everybody else to have a bit of a gap by the time Kevin comes up through, Kevin might not have enough time to get there. So it's, you know, a bit of a dark horse, but I'm going to throw that out there. See if it sticks.
Well, these guys are now going to line up on the grid. We've got the track temperatures there for you to 22 degrees Celsius, 72 Fahrenheit. That's 5 Fahrenheit lower than what it was for race 1, and 3, I think, Fahrenheit Celsius lower than race 1 in the in our units. James Pierce has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars ahead of him, and he's going to try and make it through them in a nice, calm manner. And Kevin Brooks has got 8 cars ahead of him to make through a nice, calm manner. And I'm pretty confident that Kevin's got the pace in that car to get the job done. We just we shall see as to what will happen. But my money is on repeat winners today.
Yeah, I think definitely an AM. I think James definitely has the field covered. So.
And the Porsche pace car rolls away. And here we go. I'm just going to pop a quick message to the drivers. Giving a little pep talk to the drivers there just to make sure they're all on the same page as finishing the race. As they come through and the Porsche pace car heads off into pit lane, these guys are now into what will be the starting zone. Once they pass that DRS logo on the left-hand side, which you can just see there, it's that white block. So holds them, and we've got a green flag, and they are away. So that's Daniel Tenorio getting the foot down, getting an early lead, and getting the job done into turn 1. He hits the brake pedal. Taylor Lane has a little bit of a squirm on the brakes. He's outbroke himself. He hasn't, sorry. He's just broke layout, and he nearly got round the outside there. Let's have a little look back through the field and just see what's going on. No first lap issues at all that I can see from those guys. So we have the AMs coming through to take the green.
Yep, just taking a look here at Kevin Brooks. He actually has not been able to make up any room yet at all. So Jeff Applegren doing a good job to hold him behind here. Not wanting to let Kevin get away from him.
And we have a green flag in the AM field there, so they head down into turn 1. Stephen Martinez right up on the back. Oh my God, that is a medley of cars all over the place in the turn 1, 3 wide at one point. I thought they were going to go into each other, and they have. Mark Scott smacked straight in the side. And who was that? It was Braden Mailing has just absolutely KO'd Mark Scott right in the side.
Oh, it looks like James Costa has had a moment too.
What's happened back there? So let's have a look what happened.
Oh, you know what? I think Mark was rejoining and just got into the side of James.
Oh my God. He got absolutely clobbered then. Oh dear, what a bit of a mess in the AM. He nearly goes over. Just got absolutely up on 2 wheels. Oh dear, that's going to be entertaining to try and sift through that one after the events happened. And Mark Scott not giving an inch to our race 1 winner there, James Pearce. Really trying to get the recovery job done, but Braden just didn't maybe know he was on the outside, didn't know he was there, came across, and that was big contact on the side, and then it was big contact that followed after that. But obviously James Costa getting involved, so there'll be potentially a few protests flying around after this race, and that'll give us something to do tomorrow. I mean, yeah, Thursday night, we always want something to do on a Thursday night, and what better way of spending it than looking at the protests? So there we go.
Let me just give a call here real quick. I just want to give a call to John Casey. Okay, I know maybe some people don't know, but he's still learning. He's still getting a feel for road racing. He's coming across a line here. He's going to lead AM across the line after lap 1. And it's not like he's just barely. He's got a pretty decent gap here.
Well, something happened in the pro field. We've got a replay on the screen. Something happened here. Oh, Jeff pops a wheel onto the dirt, takes Kevin Brooks with him. Look at this. He just clips the grass around the car goes and takes Kevin with him. Kevin just had...
Oh, no.
Probably thinking which way is he going and picked the wrong way and goes into him. So that's not done any favours to Kevin. Daniel is already around that right-hander when Kevin's in the braking zone still. So pro field is getting all out of shape at the minute. Playing into the hands of Daniel Tenorio, Taylor Lane and all the other guys at the front there. Manuel to Tolentino. Big damage on the front of Manuel's car. What happened to him? He's got real issues on the front of that. Let's have a look. Oh, we've got problems in the AM field again. This big gaggle of cars here. They are really taking chunks out of each other. What is happening?
So, Harry, I've done it again.
What? Speak.
Commentator's curse, man.
Oh, it's not over yet. You know, it's not over yet.
Nope, I was just giving John props.
Oh.
And here he comes down into turn 1, locks it up, gets into the kitty litter, doesn't hit anything, but he goes from first to dead last.
Oh dear. Race, this a long race, you still got time.
John, I apologize, buddy.
It's all your fault, that is, Casey.
Yeah, it's bit me a couple times, so...
Yeah.
More than a couple, actually, so...
But let's see what happens here in the AM field where Mark Scott is letting these guys go and...
oh my God.
What's happened?
AM is all over the place. Stephen Martinez had a big moment. Went wide, and just a bottleneck of cars just going everywhere.
No, he smashed the inside barrier right into the side of James Costa. He's really got that out of... That's just happened on screen. You've got a replay of it here. He hits the brake pedal. Ferrari brakes, goes left, comes across. My God, Costa's car is just a magnet for crap at the minute, isn't it? He is getting absolutely beaten around something central.
Well, then he had another moment just after this then. Unless am I in replay? Yeah, I'm in replay. Never mind.
I think you before that, yeah. So you've seen the first instance.
Yep.
And what's going on here? Taylor Lane is in the pits. Why is Taylor in the pits? Oh, this is proving to be a bit of an all over the shop race, and I don't think it's any particular driver's fault. It's just happening. It's one of those races. As we see these two guys going side by side into the Schumacher races, that's not somewhere you want to be sitting side by side, guys. Taylor Lane is disconnected. What's gone on there? Taylor Lane was in second position and he's disconnected. Why is Taylor Lane? Well, we'll find out after the race, but now let's get back to this battle here. So we've got Eric Kalaga, Blake Scott and James Pearce. So James Pearce, take it easy. It's time. You've got time. There's 22 minutes of this race left as he cuts through. Tags right up to the back of Blake Scott now. And Blake Scott holding him off.
I don't know. It looked like Taylor just got frustrated. He blew the chicane, completely missed his second apex, just went off straight into the sand trap and went into pit road, and looks like he just alt F forward. What happened there? He didn't hit anything. He just blew the chicane, went straight, and then went straight into the pits.
Yeah, something happened.
Hopefully everything's all right at home.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's something's obviously not done any favours, but this still battle here. Blake Scott just grabbing a tyre on the entrance there. Eric Kalaga's done a sensible thing. Probably doesn't want anything to do with that battle and gets out of the way. But this is for third now actually in the Anfield. And let's see what happens as they come into braking zone. James Pearce, no two ways about it, I think has got pace to get around Blake Scott. But Blake Scott isn't just going to keel over and make it easy. James has just put a wheel on the gravel on the outside and got it all out of shape. I thought he was going to take Blake Scott with him. He's gone all the way around the outside. Corvette showing its worth over Porsche there. Gets the job done, hits the brake pedal just at the right moment, and that was one hell of a move. He was on the gravel on the exit out of there. I thought he was done, and then manages to hammer down up the hill and just, that's it. I can't see there's much being in his way now between him and getting this race win sorted.
Yeah, 99 out of 100 times you don't save that, let alone complete the pass. So
no, you're right.
That's wow.
No, he did really well there. And Blake Scott he's not run away from him yet, but I think Blake Scott has really got to dig deep. He's going to have anything for James now. But that was fairly decent racing there, but it was seriously close. I thought that was genuinely thought that was it for James. I thought he'd put himself in a position which was unsavable, but manages to get it pulled back around. And we'll keep an eye on this battle, but let's get back to the pro battle here, because Matt Miller, Derek McManus and Kevin Brooks are all a piece here. Manuel Tolentino, look at the front of Manuel's car. Something really dramatically poor has happened to the 46 Corvette there. But it's gonna be between Matt Miller and Derek McManus. Which one of these guys?
Well, don't look now, but right off the back of Derek McManus is Kevin Brooks.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's about 20 car lengths behind him.
And he's there. He's knocking at the door. And Daniel Tenorio, 3.5 seconds north of Matt Miller. He's got 5 seconds on Kevin Brooks, and we are not a million miles away from. Well, we're 10 minutes into this race. I was going to say halfway through, but we really have a bit of a chunk. Kevin Brooks is having some spike. Yeah, he's having some spikes there. I'm looking at his ping, and it's settled back down again now, but it was up a fairly high amount before. I'm just looking at Costa's car, James Costa's car, thinking it's not a straight panel on it. Even
kind of
even
in the
boot
pinball
bench,
here.
he's been absolutely battered. He's done nothing wrong though. He got
No,
wiped
that's the
out.
worst part about it.
He got absolutely annihilated at lap 1, and then he got done again. Oh jeez. Oh well, he's still out there having a go, and he's currently in 5th position in the AMS. So he's plucking away.
Man, this Corvette of Kevin Brooks is just so hooked up. I mean, it's unreal.
He has. He's really got it hooked up, and he's all over the back of Derek McManus coming down into turn 1.
For it.
Goes to the inside. He's locked up though. He's put a wheel. Derek comes back. Porsche on exit. Obviously got the grunt out of the corner. He's not got that done at all. He grabbed the tyre on the edge of the corner there, and then just I don't think he got it slowed up enough. And Derek was able to hold off that position. And let's see just further back. Jeff Applegreen is, well, after his wheel off onto gravel and spin. Very rare mistake from Jeff. We don't see him make those sort of mistakes often. So he's just obviously not having the best of days out here at the Nurburgring GP circuit.
He wasn't shy in voicing his displeasure at the end of race 1 either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's doing him any favours, I don't think. I can't get over Manuel's car. It looks absolutely mangled. James Pierce, by the way, is taking the lead of Anne, so he's managed to get the move on Errol. Has Errol had it off? Because those bits of that Porsche, they don't look quite as neat as they did before. Eric Kalaga gets out the way of Blake Scott. Where's Michael Kalaga though? That's the important thing, because obviously points leader at the minute. He's currently down there in 6th position, so he's got to get to James Costa and then Blake Scott, Eric Kalaga. I presume Eric's probably not going to give him too much of a hard time, and then he's away. Blake Scott's grabbed a wheel into the braking zone, but let's get back onto this pro battle here. I'm looking at this AM battle. There's an AM battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, but this pro battle here is looking pretty spicy with Kevin Brooks on the back of Derek McManus. Throws it to the inside of the left-hander, but it's a right-hander after that, puts him on the uncompromised line. He fires the Corvette out of the corner, and I think he's got the job done on the exit. And he has. He's around. He's done. That's it. He just got such a run on the exit of the corner. Got the power down precisely where he needed to. Every single one of the ponies hit the deck, and he was just out the corner quicker than that Porsche was ever going to think. Drove around the outside like he was stood still. That's just a testament to how well he's got that Corvette hooked up, I think, really.
Yeah, I watch him going through the final corner, and he just carries so much more speed through the middle of the corner, and it's just so well planted. It's unbelievable.
Sometimes you just click with a car and a track, and I think, dare I say, Kevin has clicked with driving that Corvette around the Nurburgring today. It's no one else can hold a stick to him at the minute. He really is, and now he's chasing down Derek McManus. Did he get a slowdown there? You see how much curb he took through that?
Yeah, he grabbed quite a bit of curb.
We'll see as he comes up to the start finish line.
Over though.
No, he's not yielding. But this, have a look here. We've got Eric Kalaga and we've got Errol, and up ahead is Blake Scott. Blake in the 2nd position, sorry, 2nd position, because that's Errol behind, and Eric Kalaga is in 4th of the AMS. So Ford, Ferrari, Porsche. They go up the hill. I think the Ford got a little bit of a squirmy moment on the entrance there and dropped back quite a bit. Errol is banging that Ferrari all over the curbs. He's trying as hard as he can. My God, they've created a different racetrack coming out of that corner. They use every millimetre of track there. I don't think it gives you a slowdown. It would definitely give you an off track. But that is not the racing surface, lads. Oh, there's contact.
Oh no!
Oh, and they're still crashing. What's going to happen here? Oh, then errors in the wall, and they are both heavily damaged. I mean,
That's race over.
did he know he was there? I mean, it was a fair move from Eric. The inside was there to take.
Oh yeah, that car's tracking 45 degrees sideways for Errol here.
Big contact there. Eric's car's absolutely done as well. I think that's crabbing. He's trying to pick it up through the gears. Doesn't look too bad.
Oh yeah, no, Errol's race is definitely over. I don't think there's any way he'll continue.
I think that's about it. Oh my God, that's broken.
Well, I did try to tell you.
Oh, that is.
That's about 45 degrees.
I mean, there's not much.
On it.
There's not much lock left in the steering box there, and it's like, oh, that is. I mean, that's one way to end your race. I don't know if he knew he was there. I just look at that thing. Oh, you shouldn't laugh, but that is proper broke. That's knackered. So that's the Ferrari 488 Crab Edition there. Only just sideways. But let's have a look here. That's the very broken looking front end of the of Manuel Tolentino's car. Got Jeff Brooks up behind him, and we've got Kevin Brooks on the back of Mac Miller for second place. Has Dan got himself enough of a lead here over Kevin to get the job done? He's got 4.5 seconds. Now, this is going to be interesting. I don't think Mac is going to be able to hold off Kevin for the remainder of this race. But the interesting thing will be is whether Kevin, with clear air and no battle, is going to have enough time in this race to get to the back of Dan. Kevin looks to the outside. He's going round the outside. He's
sending it. Oh, what man.
A move. That is a move. That is a serious move. Kevin goes round the outside of Matt Miller in the left hand of the last chicane. That was
just wow.
That's one of probably the best moves I think I've seen. Outbroke him on the left-hander. But Matt coming back at him.
Get back up on him. He is not letting Kevin get away here.
No, but unfortunately, I think after that, I don't think he's going to have much of a choice unless he absolutely nails the exit of this final corner and able to get a run down into turn one. There's too much of a gap between these two cars. And Kevin's doing his best.
That's what I was talking about earlier. Kevin just gets through that final corner
so
well.
Yeah, and it doesn't leave like anyone behind any position of room where you could put anything on him. And he has a little lock up there into turn one. Mac is trying his hardest. He doesn't want to give that up, and you can't blame him. But Kevin has just got the better of it now and getting his foot down. There is 11 minutes left of this race.
So here we go.
We've got
4.8 seconds is the gap.
Yeah, 4.8 at the minute. So we'll see what sort of lap times he puts in. I mean, it's going to be, how many laps of this race is there going to be left? There's going to be
about maybe 4 or 5.
It's going to be about 5 or 6, I think. So he's got to pull him in at about a second a lap to get him. It's possible. I mean, he's got the pace. Daniel Tenorio's last lap.
Dan's picked up the pace a little bit, though.
He very much has. But the gap is coming down. It's now 4.5. So we'll see what happens as we get through this. James Costa's on 14 incident points, and I don't think he's got one of them on his own.
He's definitely been the pinball out there.
It's just had the absolute. He's had the crap kicked out of him in that race, and I don't think he's done anything wrong. He's done nothing on his own record. He's just been absolutely violated for the last 20 minutes.
For a long time.
Oh Jesus! You gotta laugh. Wow. Oh dear. Let's have a look at this guy. What's it down to? 4.1.
4.1.
So last lap from Kevin.
I don't know.
49.8. Last lap from Dan. 50.5. Kevin needs more than that. He's going to need to have at least a second a lap if he's going to stand a chance of putting anything on Daniel Tenorio in the closing. We're 2/3 of the way through this race. 9 minutes left. What's that going to be? It's 1 minute 50-ish a lap. Round that up. 2, 4, 6, 8. It's going to be 5 laps remaining.
Well,
Five.
here's going to be the monkey wrench. Dan's got some lap traffic ahead of him, and he's going to catch them before they get the checkered flag.
He's got Eric Kalaga and he's got Stephen Martinez in a very, very second-hand looking Ferrari. And again, James Pearce has schooled the Anfield in this race. Michael Kalaga has been able to get somewhat close to the back of James Costa. So again, that's a excuse me, that's a quite important thing. If Michael gets past James Costa, then James Pearce has only pulled about 4 points on him in this round. So, you know, I know the end of the season is a long way away, but this is round 4 of 10, and this is the time where these marginal gains start to come into effect. So, Michael needs to put his foot down, I think, if he's going to keep it. I don't think he's going to get to Blake Scott with this amount of time left. The gap between Kevin and Dan is 2.5 seconds. Something has happened to Daniel Tenorio. He's had his last lap was a 1:51.2. He's had a shocker of a last lap. Something happened to him on that last lap. I don't know what it was, but that's brought that gap down.
He must have got out of shape somewhere and I missed it.
Yeah, something's happened, but 2.5 seconds is what the gap is now. Now that changes everything. That is now a point where Kevin can get to the back of him. Is he able to pass him? We don't know yet because obviously it hasn't happened, but there's going to be about 4 or 5 laps left in this race. And I'm pretty sure that Kevin has got more than half a second a lap in him to get to Daniel. So he's going to get to him. What he can do with it, let's find out. But yeah, last lap 1:51.2. Last lap from Kevin 49.6. That's a second and a half quicker and brought that gap down massively. Dan's just got to hit his marks here. He can't afford to lose anything. He can't afford to lose any more time.
Now, you can just see that Corvette, Kevin Brooks, just getting bigger and bigger in the mirror.
Yep. Chasing him down. The gap is now just over 2 seconds. So again, we're going to come back to that and let's try and see what's going on in this little battle between Michael Kalaga and Blake Scott. So James Costa's caught up onto the back of Blake Scott. Michael Kalaga is pretty much on the back of James Costa. There is only, there's only sort of 3 or 4 seconds covering those guys. Last lap from Michael Kalaga, 1:51.8. Last lap from Blake, 1:52.8. So he's took a second out of him on the last lap. Is that because Blake did something wrong, or is that just his pace? Let me have a quick look at previous lap times. Well, he did his quickest lap the lap before of a 1:51 dead. So if Blake can bash those times in, then Michael's going to be up against it to get to him.
Yep. Gap between Kevin Brooks, Dan Tenorio down to 1.81 seconds. Last lap for Kevin was 1:49.7. Dan did a 1:50.45. So 7/10 of a second there was pickup there for Kevin. So he's definitely going to get there.
He is. He's definitely going to get there, and it's yeah. Well, I mean, it would be nice to see Dan win a race. I mean, he's plucked hard through season 1, got a runner-up position, and we're going to see what sort of stuff he can do in the pro field and what he's got against the likes of Kevin Brooks, Jeff Applegreen, and some of the top front runners in the pro field. Now he's been bumped up to him, so we shall see what happens here.
Gap looks like it's down to about a second just from eyeballing it here.
Yeah, I think you're probably about right. It's just over a second. 1.2 at the minute is the gap. So again, as they cross the line, you're right. Kevin just gets such a run out of that last corner. He absolutely flies out of that last corner. And I don't know, it must be... It's not just the Corvette. He's got a line through there that just rings and does its thing. And we crossed the line with 4 minutes to go. So we're going to have three... Well, you're going to have 2 laps and then white flag, I think. So we're probably going to have 3 laps left.
Yeah, and they're closing in on the back of some pretty heavy traffic here.
Yeah, Kevin gets a little bit sideways there. That's not going to do him any favours. And gap goes up there. He lost a tenth or two. So we can see the gap at 1 second now. 1.066 is probably going to be about just under a second as they come out of this section. Now Dan is going to be looking in his mirrors. There's no two ways about it. He's going to have one eye on his mirrors, and you can't do that because the minute you start driving with looking in your mirrors, you're not looking at what's going on ahead like that there. And that's Eric Calaga and Steven Martinez around, nearly having a major impact on what happens in this race. Both guys get through it without any harm, but that was nearly curtains. And if, as we said, if
car needs to get out of the way.
It does. The Ferrari's out of the way. We've got a replay on screen right now. You can see Steven Martinez putting a lunge onto the Ferrari. And again, did he turn in? I think he turned in a little bit. And Eric Calaga, again, Eric Calaga's the second in the race. And has nowhere to go other than just ploughing to the side of him. But we saw a wobble, I think, there from Kevin Brooks.
I don't know if he wobbled or he was just trying to show some displeasure with Miles Morse there, but... Miles definitely held him up just a little bit.
He did indeed. Just on the apex of that corner. Probably would have been wise for him to maybe stick on the outside and let him through. This is going to be the penultimate lap, I believe. We've not got white flag just yet, if I'm right in saying.
No, we just crossed 30 minutes now, so on the elapsed time.
This is going to be...
I think we're going to have this and one more.
Yeah, and Kevin Brooks fires the Corvette out of the complex there, coming down into the left and right section here. Gets on the brakes later, closes the gap up. Daniel's got to make that Porsche about 4 times wider than it already is. Yep. I don't know if he's going to have much for him.
No, Kevin just got that Corvette in a completely different zip code in terms of pace.
Yeah, into the Schumacher.
He's
on the back of him. He's all over the back of him. Is there going to be a move into here, or are they just going to sit tight and wait? No move as of yet. Daniel brakes a smidge later there, but Kevin gets the car out of the corner quicker, and that is what matters. And here we go, right-hander. Kevin gets the power down better.
This Corvette is so much better. Dan's just kind of a sitting duck here.
Yeah, he's going to have to be very defensive, and he's not really. Last of the late breakers into the left-hander. There's contact. Oh, there's contact, and Kevin waits for him. What a nice thing to do. That sportsmanship just right there. It was actually a big chunk of netcode, I believe. I'm going to have a little look back on that now. It was. There's netcode between the two. They were not. There was daylight definitely between the two of those cars. But that is a place where you've got to struggle to get something done. We should be, I believe. Are we white flag this lap?
Should be for sure.
We are white flag this lap. So this is the last lap of the race, and what's Daniel going to be able to do? Covers off the inside line.
He is definitely taking a defensive line through there.
He's got to keep it. He's got to. It'd be nice to see Daniel win. We're not biased with any driver, of course. We're not. We'd love to see Daniel win just because he's not had that victory in the pro field yet. And we do like to see new winners. So he's got to nail his exits. This is where it's important. You've got to get the car out the corner quicker because that is the strength of that Corvette. Into the right hand. Kevin is notorious. Well, it just goes without saying that he's going to try and move somewhere. Dan's just got to be prepared to mark it off as he gets a run out the corner. Dan's on the gravel.
No, Dan runs wide. Here we go. We're going to go side by side through here?
No. He does the clever thing. He backs out of it, and that was, to be fair, really kind of all his own fault. The car wasn't there. Is Dan going to have anything for Kevin? I'm going to go...
No, Mac Miller gets around him.
Mac Miller gets around Kevin, around Dan Tenorio. Dan goes from first to third in 2 corners. That is a bad day at the office. But let's see as they come up into the final. Is anything going to happen up here? They're all too strung out. Dan does try. He breaks super, super late. Oh, he caught up to the back of Matt Miller there. He has a look. I don't think he can. He's locked up a tyre. He's round wide. That is it. That is all we've got for it. And that's Kevin Brooks is your second pro winner, overall winner as well. Matt Miller comes across the line in second, and then Dan Tenorio third. Derek McManus comes across the line in fourth. And we're on from there. Jeff Applegreen in fifth. Go on, Casey, you were saying?
I was just going to say, what a drive by Dan Tenorio.
He did well there. He did ever so well. And it's such a shame. He just got a little bit greedy on the exit of the corner, picked the throttle up too early, popped a wheel onto the gravel, compromised his speed at the hill, and that was all she wrote, really. He had nothing else for it. Manuel Tolentino brings the absolutely battered Corvette across the line. That thing's... I'm not 100% sure what happened to him. I'm going to have to go back and have a look and see what happened. But that is he did well to bring that thing across the line. Looking back to we've got James Pearce just about to come across the line to finish off his or should we say his title comeback, if you will, because the first couple of 3 rounds he's had has been a little bit ropey for one reason or another, not all his fault at all. And he's going to try and push back to see what he can get. Blake Scott comes across the line in the second, uses every bit of curb on the exit of that. And that is second. James Costa in third, and Michael Kalaga comes across the line in fourth. Just couldn't quite get to him at the end there. And that is all about everything. I think everybody else either has already been across the line or decided not to. So, wow. Strange race again, I got to say. That was a bit of a weird one. There was things going on in there, and good racing, though, on the whole. So we're going to talk you through your race results. Kevin Brooks is your overall winner and a winner in pro, followed by Mac Miller, Dan Tenorio, Derek McManus, and Jeff Applegreen round out your top 5. And Manuel Tolentino is the last finishing pro driver with a very second-hand looking Corvette. And then we're into your AMs. So James Pearce, Blake Scott, James Costa, Michael Kalaga rounds out your top 10 overall. Miles Morse, Eric Kalaga, Stephen Martinez, Mark Scott, John Casey, Errol Uruksoy, and then we're into Taylor Lane, who obviously didn't finish. Jamie Lawrence didn't finish either, and Braden Mailing came across the line 17 laps down. He didn't even come across the line. Sorry, put his car in the pits 17 laps down. So that was some pretty interesting racing from start to finish, especially in that second race. The first race really tame. Everyone was really well behaved. Nothing really to write home about. That second race, different story altogether. They were really, really quite on each other for that second race. So
that was really spicy, and we see it just about every week. I won't say every week, but just about every week. Race 2 is always the one that really provides that extra sense of urgency for these guys starting at the back of the field. And they're doing everything they can, as they should. You got to get up through, because just like what I just about predicted correctly, Dan jumped out to that lead, and it took everything Kevin Brooks had to come up through to be able to just get him there at the end. So it's that's what creates the great racing. You do reverse grid, and you're asking for a better race, I think.
No, I think you're right with that. I think that was a really good race on the whole, and I think they did okay. There's a couple of little things here and there, as there always is, but on the whole, they were some really good racing throughout the field, and the Pro Series is looking to be quite a shape-up. Kevin Brooks, obviously, he's got the edge on a few drivers out there. The AM battle is looking to be, we've got Michael Kalaga out there at the minute, Blake Scott hot on his heels in second, James Pearce is probably the hard charger down in about 5th or 6th in the points. So we'll see what happens, obviously, as we go through the season. And next week, we are at the halfway point. And next week, we are going to be racing at, and you see how I'm stringing that sentence out because I'm ill prepared again. Let's grab the old spreadsheet here that has everything detailed on it. Oh, next week is an hour and 15 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps. That is an endurance race, and that is going to be something pretty good. These GT cars, I think, love to go around Spa, and it's going to be a pretty decent race. Again, a track might be that favours one car more than the other. Who knows? We shall see.
Yeah, I think I hate to say it, but I think the Corvette's going to be a little have quite a bit of an advantage there next week.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I think it's a case where we'll just have to see. We'll see what the practice times look like as we go through the week and see what these guys have got to offer. But I think from us, I think we're all about done. Rob, I think it's time for you to do your little bit.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Wherever you are in the world, hope you're staying safe out there. Remember to like, subscribe, and all that kind of good stuff. And until next week at Spa-Francorchamps, take care, guys. Enjoy yourselves and have a good evening.